Hello, thank you for visiting the Management Channel. And in this session, we're going to discuss something that goes on continuously in business, and that is called change management. So, introducing change management, it's a systematic way of bringing about and managing changes within the organization and on the individual level. Change in the business environment creates a necessity for a change in the organization's overall planning and strategy. And this requires altering the functions and structure of the firm in order to support that strategy. Organizational change is when a competitive firm creates an organizational structure that supports its strategy and constantly revises and replans it to respond to any environmental change, such as competitive, technological, marketing strategy, and so forth. Well, why is change important? For growth, to gain new market share, if you have a new innovative product or service for the public, for financial stability, for long-term presence, for stability, so forth. Change is necessary in business, and business is always changing. And when faced with change, there has to be a change agent, an individual inside or outside the organization who tries to modify the existing organizational situation. Generally, there's change affecting three different levels, and that are people, structure, and technology. Unplanned change happens when an unexpected situation causes you to initiate a strategy for that change. Making change means supervisory involvement. All progress is change, but not all change is progress. The introduction of change usually requires implementation at the departmental level, coming down from the top. The success or failure of any change is usually related to a supervisor's ability to not only anticipate, but deal with the causes of resistance to change. Why is change important? Growth, market share, innovative product or service, all that means growth for the organization. So if you just sit and get stagnant, you're going to slowly drift behind and your competition is going to pass you by. There are two types of change. It's incremental and radical. Incremental change is a continual improvement that takes place within the already accepted frameworks or value systems or the organizational structure that is necessary for the survival and success of the business. A radical change is a rapid change in strategy, structure, technology, or people. Radical change alters accepted frameworks, the value systems, and interrupts the organizational structure. There are basically four types of change: strategy, structure, technology, and people. Could changes in one of the above variables cause a change in another? Think about it. If so, how? Could a change in technology affect a change in people? Could a change in technology affect the structure or strategy of the organization? These are things to consider. So there are four types of change. Let's talk about each one. Strategy is marketing or competitive strategy that could change at the corporate, divisional, business unit, or the functional level. A structure change usually follows strategy. A change in strategy results in a change of structure. That is, for instance, from one product focus to a customer focus. Technology. New technology such as computers, automated processes, robotics, and so forth usually change strategy and structure. People. Change does not occur without a change in the people. When tasks change, people skills and performance changes. Attitudes and behaviors change, and often the culture therein changes too. So there are major factors of change. You need a change agent, individuals affected by change, a determination from the top of what should be changed, and of course an evaluation of that process and what type of change can be made. Organizational development is basically the ongoing planned process of change used as a means of improving performance through intervention. But change does bring resistance. What is the most important resource in any business, do you say? It's people. And if the most important resource is people, is it important how we manage that change within the organization affecting the people? Why? Because they're the ones doing the work. If we agree that people are our most important resource, and we recognize that change is inevitable or necessary if you're going to grow the business, do we understand that that change brings resistance? Why do people resist change? Think about that for a moment. If they came in tomorrow and told you that things were going to change dramatically in the way you do your job, how are you going to feel? There are 4 phases of the change process. There's denial, there's resistance, there's exploration, and there's also commitment. Denial is when rumors of change start, people start denying that it's going to affect them. Well, okay, that'll change, but that doesn't affect me. Resistance is when change arrives and it becomes a reality. Now many often resist or reject the change. Exploration, once change begins, some employees begin to explore the change, and if trained properly with thorough explanations, they begin to understand how the change affects them. And hopefully then leads to commitment, because through exploration, employees determine their level of commitment to making a change or success. Some will and some will not commit. Many people fear change because they can't predict what the change will mean in terms of their future in the organization. Is that going to change how I do my job? Am I going to have to move? Will I lose control over what I do? People resist change because it alters their normal routine. What do you think? True or false? It's true.
Effective teamwork requires a positive, constructive approach from every member of the team. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. And then there is chaos.
What I'd like to do is set up a structure for the team so that we'll all know how this project is going to operate. I'd like to begin.
Is this really necessary? Why don't we all just start working on our own and see how it comes together later? This is just too much procedure for me.
I don't want to get bogged down in procedure either, but we need some structure or we'll be going around in circles.
Well, you can do it any way you want to, but I've got no patience for all this stuff. I've done it my own way for a long time and it's worked just fine. I don't see why that has to change.
Right there, you can see the problem that many organizations face. An unwillingness to change, a desire to keep doing it the same old way. And this can lead to real problems in the way teams operate. So before a team is formed, it is vital to define the way everyone will work together. This is called writing the team's constitution. It establishes the team's operating principles, policies, and ground rules. Now, there are 2 methods for developing this constitution. The first is called Future Forward, the Team Victory Party. This means you imagine the future success of the team and then work backward from there. You determine what it will take to achieve this perceived success. Now, for example, let's say the success is the development of an innovative computer program for a client. You imagine you've already achieved that goal. In doing so, you ask yourself a series of questions. What were our meetings like? How were they conducted? How did we reach high-quality decisions? Who was involved and when? How were crises and problems handled? What role did the team leader play? By answering these questions, you'll be guided in how your team should function and how to write its constitution.
So there are 3 major sources of resistance. Facts. Rumors through the grapevine get started. People will use facts to try to prove their point. But management can use those same facts to overcome the fears. Facts are provable statements that identify reality. Beliefs. Facts can be proven, but beliefs cannot. Beliefs are opinions that are shaped by others throughout the workplace. A belief can sway opinion that can change it to good or bad. Subjective opinions that can't be proven. That's what beliefs are. Values are what people believe are worth pursuing or doing. Values are what appears to be right or wrong and helps to establish priorities. What people believe are important and worth pursuing. People resist change for 5 major reasons: uncertainty, learning anxiety, self-interest, fear of loss, and fear of loss of control. Let's define these further. Uncertainty. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the outcome, the fear of how change will affect them and their ability to perform. Learning anxiety is the fear of learning something new produces anxiety because the worker feels potentially incompetent. I've been doing this for 4 years, now I have to learn a whole new way. I don't know if I can do it. Self-interest. Employees are often interested more in their own self-interest than they are that of the organization. Will that change affect their own personal interests and their methods? And then fear of loss. Will change involve an economic loss, a loss of my job? Will I get a pay cut? Will I lose all my social relationships here I have at work? And then finally, fear of loss of control. Will the change result in an actual or perceived loss of power, status, some kind of security I have or control over situations? Will I no longer be in charge of my own destiny? Which of these 5 reasons is the most common, do you think? Well, believe it or not, it's uncertainty. Reasons for resistance to change. Change can threaten employees socially by upsetting their personal relationships. Psychologically, by changing their familiar workplace. Or maybe economically through the loss of skills, job, or potentially being laid off. Overcoming resistance to change, management needs to provide adequate information. Supplying all the information employees consciously and subconsciously need to know. So when you're managing change, you're going to see resistant forces. You want to support the existing conditions and organizations and thus resent change of any kind. You're going to get that. You're going to have resistance to change, results from self-interest, misunderstanding, distrust, and a general intolerance of change in the workplace. Managing organizational change is a basic process of unfreezing, getting the people affected by change to believe that that change is needed and that is beneficial. Change intervention is a process used to get workers and managers to change their behaviors and their work practices. And refreezing, then, is supporting and reinforcing new changes so that they will stay and remain. The methods to manage resistance to change: 1 is education. Let your people know, educate them. Communicate properly, thoroughly, and effectively through the entire organization. Use teams if possible. Nothing better to create change in the organization than develop a change team. People made up of the workforce of their peers. Negotiation. Top management support, very important. And coercion. When necessary, the use of formal power and authority to force others to make the change. But that's like a last result. When you're trying to reduce resistance, avoid surprises, plan the change, notify all those affected by it, promote some real understanding, define and explain the complete change. Do not make it sound good for the company, rather define why it's beneficial to everyone. Set the stage for change, create a positive attitude, create morale, plan for resistance, plan for overcoming resistance, and communicate constantly. Make tentative change. We recommend that you do so on a trial basis so workers can adjust. My advice is do it in increments. Make changes in segments and sequence steps. Do not make radical change. Do not try to change something drastically overnight. Change brings stress. Stress is a bodily strain an individual experiences as a result of coping with some environmental factor. Stressors are factors that cause people to feel overwhelmed by anxiety, tension, or just pressure. There are two main types of stress. There's functional stress, which helps improve performance by challenging and motivating people to meet those objectives. But there's also dysfunctional stress. Stress that is severe enough to lead to burnout and satisfaction. So your level of work performance is higher when the work stress is lower. If you have a moderate work stress, you're going to have almost pretty good high level of performance. But when you have very high work stress, you're going to have low level of performance. Causes of stress are not enough sleep or rest. Their personality type. Some people are always stressed. The organizational culture. Is it a stressful one where everybody feels uncomfortable? Or does everyone feel comfortable working in the environment? What is the management behavior? What is the type of work they're doing? Some jobs are very stressful already, and they don't need micromanaging stressful managers. What are the interpersonal relations? Are they not getting along with everybody? Is there disorganization? So change in conflict. Conflict is defined as a struggle that results with opposing needs or when opposing feelings exist. There's two types of conflict. Functional. It exists when disagreement and opposition support the achievement of the goals. Disagreement until consensus is reached in a polite and professional manner. And then dysfunctional. It exists when conflict prevents the achievement of organizational goals, which then leads to missed objectives and decreased performance. Settling conflict, there are four basic techniques. Compromising. Parties settle on a solution that reaches and compromises both sides. Avoiding it. Management simply ignores the problem. Not a good alternative, though. Forcing. Using management authority to declare that conflict is ended and the discussion is ended, and that's it. Also not a good tactic. Resolving. Work out the differences between the manager and the employee, or the employee and the employee. Make it a win-win situation, and that is really the best way. So, in reducing resistance, evaluate and revise plans as needed. Follow the plan, do, check, act method. And what to do when leading change? Well, you want to establish a great sense enough for them to understand it's an urgent situation. Create a powerful enough coalition. Involve employee teams. Create a vision of why this change is needed, but it needs to be a win-win. Not just a win for the company, but the employees have to see a benefit too. You need to have constant communication of the vision. Remove any speed bumps or obstacles to that new vision. Systematically plan for and create short-term wins. Remember, winning each little battle helps you win the war. And do not declare victory too soon. Anchor changes in the corporate's culture. When you've got it, lock it down. Now, there are tools to help you manage change. There are several ways to manage change within your organization, and some of the recommended ones are results-driven. Change created quickly by focusing on the measurement and improvement of results. The General Electric Workout, a 3-day meeting where managers and employees from different parts or levels of the organization quickly come together, generate, and act on solutions for specific business problems. And then the Organizational Development Technique, most common method used. The philosophy and collection of planned change interventions designed to improve an organization's long-term health and performance. And again, the key word, plan it out. So how, as managers, do we overcome resistance to change? There are 7 major steps. Develop a positive trust climate for change. Plan. Know that resistance is going to happen. So let the employees know what the change is and how it will affect them so that they're not so apt to resist. Clearly state why change is needed and how it will affect everybody. Create a win-win situation. Again, how employees and the organization wins, why it's good for both sides. Involve employees. have employees in a change management team provide support. Management has to support the change, but also support the employees by helping them cope with the change. Solicit input from your employees on how to best initiate this change. And again, create urgency. Don't allow everyone to procrastinate. This has to be created as a sense of importance, a must-do item. So this little chart will show you resistance to change, basically what I've told you already. Take a moment to study it if you like. Pause if you need to. So overcoming the barriers to change. Adjust and modify as necessary. Make it happen. Encourage employee participation. Overcome the resistance to change. Provide information on benefits of change. But first of all, recognize the need to change and how to get there. So, introducing change, proposing change to high-level managers. Obtain needed information. Consult with the supervisors. Create a formal written proposal and then make a formal presentation. And again, keep it brief, stick to the facts. A comprehensive change model for OD has 5 steps. OD is organizational development. Recognize the need for change, define that change that's needed, establish objectives, and explain why this change is necessary. Identify any possible resistance to change and think about how you're going to overcome it and plan it. Plan that change innovation, plan the method to meet the change that is needed, the how, the what, the why, the when, and the where. Implement the change intervention by putting the plan into motion. Define who, how, and when it's going to happen. And then control the change. Follow up to ensure change is implemented and maintained. Objectives have to be met. There are several popular methods of OD intervention. Team building, designed to help work groups increase structure and team dynamics performance to get the job done. And process consultation, designed to improve team dynamics by focusing on how people interact as they get the job done. Another way of OD intervention is the force field analysis. It diagrams the current level of performance, what forces are hindering change, and the driving force toward change. A survey feedback is the use of a questionnaire to gather data to use as the basis for change. Large group intervention brings together all the participants from all parts of the organization, like a cross-functional team, and key outside stakeholders to solve problems or take advantage of opportunities. The culture of change, remember that as a leader of the team, you are also a member of the team. Don't forget that important part. Identify the issues facing the organization. Analyze how those issues prevent goal attainment. Recognize the difference between needed change and change just for the sake of making a change. Identify the metrics that will be used to monitor and evaluate this change process. Communicate to and involve all who have a stake in the change. Understand what needs to be changed. Seek a consensus. Confront the resistors to change. Establish some clear targets. Take risks, experiment, and innovate. Be creative. Spend money to develop employees so they have the competencies to implement the change. Focus on the outcome. Monitor your progress. Provide feedback. And constantly recheck your plans and see if they need to be revised. Celebrate every little victory you have. Why change efforts fail? Well, they're not establishing a sense of urgency. We want to make the change, but we're not really in a big hurry. Another reason is not creating a powerful coalition to guide the effort. Leaders who lack vision or lacking leaders who do have vision. Lacking leaders who can communicate the vision. Not removing any obstacles or speed bumps to the new vision. Not systematically planning for and creating short-term wins. Make it like a roadmap. Declaring victory too soon is really a big reason for change effort failure, because you think you're there, but you haven't monitored to find out. And once it does work, anchor those changes in the corporate place. Thank you for viewing today. I know this has been a long one. Hope you'll continue looking at us here in the Management Channel. Have a wonderful day.